Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Weekly Wednesday Inspiration. So, today's topic is combating the holiday hangover, and I wanted to do a brief 10-minute discussion real quick on a couple of things. So, we talked about in the last edition, or last week, kind of like getting over like the holiday blues a little bit and trying to push through like what we think has been a bit of a slower season for the hairdressing industry. I found something at the end of last week to be very interesting, and I think that this is a benefit and a key that will help during the holidays or during any time of year that you're feeling like it's a little bit slower than you expect. What happens a lot of times is you get this kind of feeling about how things are going, and you can tend to base your mood, your decisions a lot of times on that feeling. The challenge with that is sometimes that feeling is purely emotion. It's not necessarily backed up with fact. It's just how you're feeling. So, for instance, for the past few weeks, I've been feeling like, you know what? This December, not as good as last December. This holiday season, not as good as last holiday season. Not quite as busy. Our Fridays in the month of December were not quite what I expected them to be. And there was like, a lack of the energy that you would expect this time of year, I think, some of the days. While some of that was true, when I actually went back and analyzed and tallied up and totaled up what we actually ended up doing, we're actually $3,000 or $4,000 ahead of last December up until this point. We beat last year's Christmas week by a very small amount of money. Like, we literally beat it by like $30, but we still beat it. It wasn't worse than last year. We didn't take a step back. We took a very small step forward. And we still have one full work week left in the calendar year. So there's still big opportunity between today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if you're open Sundays, to finish the year strong. So my point of that is that I think that that's where it shows you the massive value in tracking your numbers and understanding how to evaluate the numbers that you track. Because what that does is that gives you power to eliminate emotion from your decisions. One of my good friends, Lance Courtney, always says when emotion is high, intelligence tends to be very low. So what happens is if you're feeling a certain way in your business and then you start to actually make decisions based on that feeling without really determining if those feelings are based on fact, you can tend to make a mistake in one of those decisions because it's emotional and it's not factually based. When you analyze what you have in front of you, doesn't mean you're going to always be happy with the results. So for instance, if I would have analyzed and said, you know what, I was right, my feeling was correct, that gut that I was feeling that it wasn't as busy was correct, where at the end of the day, I can then strategize on next year how to make that better. Now when I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't worse. It wasn't that much better, so that's probably what I had been feeling. There were still some of those days that were slower, but that's also the benefit of tracking because you start to look at the bigger picture as opposed to the small picture. For anyone that's been in any of my business classes, there's this slide that I usually put up that's a roller coaster, and I call it like the emotional roller coaster. And so many of us as owners and stylists live our careers on this emotional roller coaster because you have a really, really great day, or you have a really, really great week, you are on top of the world and you're on that top of the roller coaster mountain, let's call it. And then you have a bad week, or then you have a bad day, and then you slide all the way down, and you tend to live week to week, day to day. Every 6 weeks or so, you're kind of riding this roller coaster. And instead of doing that, what I always say is take a step back, get off the roller coaster, look at it as a big picture. So what I've tried to do is take a step back in the business and look at it as a macro mindset, as opposed to a micro mindset. So a micro mindset is a day-to-day thing where it's like, oh, today sucks, oh, this, oh, that, and it can tend to become like a little bit, you end up being bitchy about every single day that doesn't go right. So, for instance, just half an hour ago, I just had a big cancellation. And then, of course, like many know, it's like It's like, do the clients communicate with each other and call each other and say, I'm going to cancel? Because you always tend to get more than one cancellation in the same day. So I had two of my clients later. Hey, Rosa. Merry Christmas. I had two of my clients cancel later today. So now I have an option to be pissed about it, be bitchy about, oh, this is my Wednesday, it ruined half of my day. Or I can chalk it up to, these are the breaks. This is what happens in our business. It's a weird kind of week for people. People are off. Kids are off. Things come up. You change your mind. You change your plans sometimes. That's okay. So if I keep my mind in the right place, I'm going to be fine. So going back to what I was saying with tracking, when you have seriously tracked the numbers in your business and you are seriously analyzing it, it gives you massive clarity. And for me, that was a huge burden that ended up being lifted off of me, because it felt like, wow, I don't have to run my business emotionally anymore. I can actually run it based on data and based on fact. And again, doesn't always mean that you like the data or you like the fact that you get. But if you track it, the numbers are going to tell you a story. They're just going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. So when I look back, yes, we were only $25 ahead of last Christmas week, which shows that we weren't jamming the way that I would have anticipated. We fell short of the goal that I set for that week, but we fell short of it by a small margin. It wasn't by a massive margin. And I think sometimes you can kind of jump on the pity party bus when you're going through kind of a time like that, where it's and it's just easy to kind of snowball that into something negative. So what my goal is for the rest of the year is to try to make every single day really, really, really count. Every single appointment, every single meeting that I have with an employee, every conversation I have with clients, I'm going to try my best to push the rest of the year forward and finish this year really strong. Because what ends up happening is, the topic of today is how to kind of beat that holiday hangover. What ends up happening is you go from a big party in your salon in December to a funeral in January or February. So you have to think about ways that if you're the leader of the team and you're the owner of the salon, or one of the leaders and one of the members of the team that's a leader, you have to think about, well, how do I help keep morale up in the salon? Through the next 4 weeks especially. And then you can worry about the 4 weeks after that when you get there. But for now, what I'm thinking about is, okay, well, what can we do to create, more excitement and momentum? So we're starting to game plan for 2018. I did one-on-one meetings with all of my apprentices yesterday to get everyone excited to celebrate the wins that they had throughout this year, to talk about what their desires and goals are for next year. Before training started today, we shared some of that together. I had everybody go around the room and say one thing that they're really proud of that they accomplished in 2017, and one thing that they're looking to accomplish for 2018. And I think that kind of helps start to stir the momentum. We actually chose to book our holiday, we're doing a holiday brunch. We're actually doing that in the first Sunday in January. So that'll help create a little bit of morale and a high morale. And you got to think about ways that you can be a bit innovative. We scheduled our first photo shoot of the year. And that's going to be in February. So we have something that we can start planning for. And you want to think about how can you push the snowball, up the mountain now and start it right away so that you can get that momentum going. Because I think if you come out the gate really strong in the beginning of the year, it sets you on a really, really great track. So if you can start really strong, have a really consistent middle, and then finish really strong, you're going to tend to have really great years and really great growth year on and year out. And that's why I've been able to, the salon has averaged a 20% growth year in, year out for 6 straight years. Hopefully we maintain that this year. We're a little bit off track for that for 2017 into 18, or from 2017 based on 16, but the year's not over yet. So if you can continue to have that specific focus and really try to streamline your thought on what you're trying to accomplish for next year in your business, and then you do that with each individual team member and help them kind of figure out what they need to focus on for next year, give them some feedback, help them grow, man, you're going to have an amazing 2018. So this is going to be the final weekly Wednesday inspiration of 2017. So I want to thank everybody for watching the past few sessions. We've got more to come. I'm kind of going to switch it up next year. I'm going to start featuring some people, maybe do some fun stuff I've been kind of thinking about. So I hope that you had a wonderful holiday season, a wonderful Christmas, and have a really, really happy New Year. We'll see you in 2018.